My beloved, you are here because you have known what it is to stand at the threshold of an ending you never chose. The ache in your chest, the hollow in your spirit, the sense of something, someone, having spoken a word over your life, your story, your future, and stamped it as finished when you still hope for more. You have heard the whispers. That's it. This is who you'll always be. This is all you'll ever have. You have felt the weight of decisions made in darkness or fear, by you, by others, or by forces you never saw coming. Sometimes when the world is quiet, you sense a shadow edge to your hope, a chorus of memories telling you it's already decided. You have wondered in the deepest corners of your soul, can what's been ended, discarded, declared dead, ever live again? Yet something in you has never fully agreed. There is a holy unrest, a sacred contradiction churning beneath your surrender to disappointment. You may not have shared it with anyone. Perhaps you've concealed this wounded hope, even from yourself. Still, it lingers. There is a question your heart refuses to stop asking. Is this really the conclusion? Does the enemy truly get the last word? Or is there a line in your story nobody but me can rewrite? Feel the tension between what has been spoken over your life and what I am whispering now. There are endings you have accepted, labels you have fastened and worn through sleepless nights. Yet even now, my voice touches those places the world cannot reach. I see you at the point where others walked away, where defeat seemed final, where prayers dried on your lips and the silence felt unbreakable. In every place the enemy marked as finished, I'm standing. The stakes could not be higher. If you believe the finality, you forfeit not only what you were made for, but also the seed of resurrection I have planted within you. Neglecting what I'm about to reveal seals the door, but listening, truly listening, flings it open to everything your soul longs to remember and receive. What I offer you now is not one more comforting phrase, not another vague hope that tomorrow might feel a fraction brighter. I distinguish myself from the voices of false hope and shallow comfort. This is not the empty assurance of another well-meaning friend or the passing warmth of human sympathy. This moment is sacred. Here I am not merely giving you a light at the end of your tunnel. I'm entering into the tunnel itself, sitting with you in the darkness, and declaring, with all the authority of creation, that the word final belongs to me alone. There is in my presence a rewriting power that neither shadow nor adversary, nor all the accumulations of your past can erase or contest. I am not waiting for you on the other side of despair. I am choosing to enter the places declared hopeless, to hold the pages others thought were closed, to begin again where the world no longer looks. Let the weight and wonder of what I am about to do begin to settle quietly on your soul. Pause here, my beloved, and open your spirit. I'm already reaching into those unfinished, broken places to reveal what the enemy could never anticipate or prevent. I know the ache you carry, my child, the heaviness that seeps through quiet mornings and sleepless nights alike. There are wounds in you that time has not dulled, questions that echo in the silence where answers seem to dissolve. You wonder if each ending has become the architecture of your identity, if loss and regret have claimed territory too vast to recover. I see how the world teaches you to wear resilience, like armor, how disappointment is dressed up as realism and called maturity. It is easier sometimes to hide your grief beneath the routines that pass for strength, easier to convince yourself that nothing more is possible than what you have known. I don't look away from these places. I don't wait for you to tidy your heart before drawing near. I trace every scar, every word wound tight inside you, every resignation disguised as wisdom, and I hold it with tenderness that does not wilt or withdraw. There are rooms you have closed within yourself, swept clean, locked up tight, convinced that returning would only invite more pain. I have lingered in those forgotten corners, waited with you in the long hours when no one else saw you weep. The loneliness you carry is not invisible to me. I know the difference between waiting and merely enduring. I hear the futility in the prayers you no longer bother to frame with words. You've grown accustomed to silence, sometimes even find comfort in it, because expecting an answer feels dangerous, almost cruel. But your yearning is not an inconvenience to me. Your confusion, your anger, your exhausted hope are not stumbling blocks, but invitations I welcome over and over again. Each tear you have swallowed into your chest matters to me, even when you fear it's all wasted air. Beloved, there's a weight to defeat that cannot be described to those who have never known it. The world offers bland reassurance or impatient advice when your sorrow grows too vast to ignore. How easily others say, "Move on," not knowing how tightly the past clings to your spirit, how the pulse of grief and memory shapes the contours of your days. Let me tell you what I see beneath the surface. The unseen resolve, the shaky courage in simply rising each day, the quiet fidelity to what you still long for. I witness the flicker of hope you have tried to smother, fearing it would only betray you again. I am not repelled by your struggle. I enter it willingly, as close as breath, as relentless as longing. There is no condemnation in me for your weakness, your missed chances, your wandering heart. At times you have believed that your failures mean you are disqualified from restoration, that the sum of what's broken is all there is to your story. But you, my child, are loved in your unfinished state. I do not require your perfection, nor do I tally up your losses to measure what you are worth. I see the effort it takes to hope at all when every evidence tells you otherwise. I see the hidden battles, the bargains you make with despair, the silent asks for courage you no longer voice aloud. Everyone is precious to me. The world moves on, but I remain, immersed and invested in every moment, especially those drenched in pain. There is a pattern to your struggle that even you cannot quite name. Sometimes you feel nearer to truth when undone, when all you have left is longing, raw and unrefined, reaching into the dark with trembling hands. I am not a bystander to the process. I draw near to the jagged, unresolved edges you think you must conceal. Your anger does not frighten me. Your buried doubts do not drive me away. Which voice do you listen for when the world falls quiet? Child, in the depths of what you mistake for absence, I am always nearer than you suspect. My silence is not abandonment. My quiet is a shelter, a chamber in which you may finally rest without performance or pretense. I know you have tired yourself out, kneeling before doors that refuse to open. I hold every moment you believed yourself forgotten. Let yourself be honest with me here, in this sacred pause. Lay down what you have tried so hard to carry alone. I am not measuring your faith by the absence of doubt, nor your worth by the speed of your recovery. You're allowed to feel this ache fully. You can tell me what you have never told another, and still, I will not turn away. Beneath every ending, every fearful acceptance, every surrender to what you thought was final, I am still at work. My hands trace the cracks and call them holy. In your emptiness, I prepare a new beginning that carries the weight of glory, not the residue of shame. My beloved, dare, if only for a breath, to let my comfort reach you where you have not expected rescue. Even if you move slowly, even if hope stirs only as a faint pulse in your chest, trust that nothing you feel is wasted here. As you let my presence warm those cold, silent rooms within you, be willing to speak your pain aloud, if only in the privacy of your soul. I will meet you there in the heart of your honesty, and that is where restoration begins. Will you let yourself be seen by me, even in the depth of your weariness? There are memories buried deeper than you care to look. that still shape every instinct to withdraw or reach out. You remember moments that pass through your mind with no warning. A door closing, a voice raised, a promise forgotten. Sometimes the echoes are sharp and clear, other times they drift like a fog, so familiar you almost fail to notice them at all. You carry the residue of goodbyes never spoken, of dreams quietly set aside, of words that stung more than anyone realized. These memories do their quiet shaping, convincing you that protecting yourself is the best defense you've left. Even now, you may find it difficult to name all the places you are hurting. Pain becomes a language all its own, more fluent in the silences than in any confession you might attempt. My dear child, I have watched you trace the same patterns not because you are weak, but because habit is a teacher when hope feels dangerous to trust. You have learned the art of minimizing your hopes, so disappointment doesn't catch you by surprise. You rehearse what-ifs and if-onlys in your heart, cataloging past failures and wounds, each one an artifact from battles invisible to others. In the quiet, you ask yourself, is there any part of me left untouched by loss, unshadowed by regret? You think perhaps if you cover up these memories, sweep them into some hidden corner, the pain will diminish. But wounds ignored do not heal. Instead, they grow roots beneath the surface, shaping how you enter every room, speak every word, embrace or withhold every love. There is nothing in you that escapes my notice. Not the nights your grief pressed on your chest so hard you wondered if you could breathe. Not the mornings you gathered your fragments and declared, even in a whisper, I will try again. Hope can flicker like a wounded bird, too tired to fly and yet too stubborn to give in. Even this I see. I do not scold your slow return to trust. I know what it costs to lift your eyes and expect something gentler, truer than what has been. My love is patient with your process, child. I am the witness to all your private arrivals, the ones you never post for the world to see. Where others forgot or misunderstood, I was companion. To the ache that made you cautious, that taught your heart the meaning of protect yourself first. You resist remembering because you fear memory will drown you, will reduce you to powerless longing. But there are stories within you I do not want forgotten. Stories you survived, moments you endured with more courage than you know. Often you judge yourself only by the scars, the failures, the things left unfinished. You do not see how I have honored each stretch of hard ground you have crossed. You see only your stumbles. I see the tenacity it took to rise again and again, however imperfectly. You have called yourself broken, but I name you beloved even in the fracture. You have answered to only what went wrong, but I see every shimmer of faith that has carried you one more step forward. Even now, as you remember, pain will try to whisper that you are doomed to repeat the same old heartache. But I, your Creator, hold a memory within you that is deeper than sorrow, a remembrance of belonging, an imprint of my own joy, knit into your first breath. You are not only your history, not only your last disappointment. I am writing a story within you that outlives what was lost, what was wasted. You are more than your wounds and more than the defense, mechanisms that once shielded you from pain. My voice is not one of accusation, but of endless invitation. Let the memory surface not to wound you again, but to draw out what still lives beneath the sorrow. I am not afraid of the truth, beloved. I want you whole, not through denial, but through loving honesty. Let each remembered ache become a place I can enter with you. Not everything needs to be fixed at once. Sometimes comfort means simply being seen and known in the remembering. I honor your courage in revisiting these closed rooms. I will draw near not to force forgetting, but to show you how gently light can fill even the most forgotten space. You do not journey through your memories alone. I dwell in every space you grant me access to. The rooms you swept and sealed. The chapters you wanted erased are doorways through which my kindness enters. Let yourself pause in your remembering now, not to flee from the past, but to invite my presence even there. What you cannot face alone, I will face with you. Call to mind what surfaces, child, and let me hold it without judgment or hurry. Let these tender places become meeting grounds where hope sighs, perhaps imperceptibly, but insistently through the cracks. When you are ready, will you welcome my company as you revisit the memories you thought were too heavy to bear? You often rely on your well-practiced ways of self-protection because you sincerely believe it is the only wisdom left to you. The world, as you have known it, taught you to lower your expectations, not as an act of defeat, but as a shield. Somewhere along the journey, you absorb the silent rule that too much hope is dangerous. And so, you draw boundaries around your dreams and relationships alike. What once began as a necessary boundary slowly hardened into a fortress. I have watched you, beloved, fortify these defenses with logic and self-blame, with the rationale that others seem to navigate life with less hesitation, less fear. You wonder if your caution makes you weaker, less faithful, more complicated than everyone else. Yet I don't look at you with the impatience that you fear. Underneath all your calculation, beneath the layers of management and vigilance, I see a vulnerability that aches to love and be loved without condition or dread. When others tell you to move on or to simply let go of what hurts, it rings hollow, because you alone know the story beneath your scars, the way your heart still flinches at certain words or silences. Your soul remembers things your mind tries to forget, and it's in these silent recalls that you slip into the old narrative, that you must be vigilant always, or else the next disappointment will catch you even more off guard. My dear, I gently confront what you've begun to believe about yourself. You think your caution is proof that you lack the courage or faith others possess. You interpret your pattern of holding back as failure, as proof that you're somehow less worthy of the fullness of joy or peace. This is not my perspective. I do not measure your worth by your ease of trust or your ability to forget. I see your hesitation not as disobedience, but as the result of wounds you haven't fully named, much less healed. The world has told you that faith is never afraid, that hope never trembles, that love never hesitates. I tell you, faith is what survives despite fear's shadow. Hope persists like green shoots in the cracks of old stone. Love grows, even when cautious, because I am the origin and sustainer of both. Where you see self-protection as a flaw, I see a history, a living record of what you have endured and survived. You have covered your wounds not because you lack faith, but because you have so much to lose, so much you wish could be safe. This instinct to shield yourself did not come from nowhere. It grew from a field repeatedly scorched by disappointment and loss. You crafted your defenses with the tools available to you, making sense of what was senseless, surviving what felt unbearable. I do not scorn these defenses. I see them as evidence of your longing to be whole, your refusal to surrender to despair altogether. Still, I call you to something gentler, not because your caution is sinful, but because my love can transform even the strongest barricades. I do not demand you drop your guard all at once. I approach with the same patience I showed in seasons past, in the hidden hours when you wondered if even prayer was worth the trouble. Beloved, I am not waiting for you to become fearless before I can draw near. I draw near now, in the thick of your uncertainty, precisely because you cannot will yourself beyond what hurts. You do not have to unlearn vigilance overnight, nor do you need to manufacture a reckless trust. Small willingness is enough. A sigh, a glance upward, a whispered admission of fear, these are invitations I cherish. Let me be the one who corrects the story you've rehearsed about your need for self-protection. I'm not frustrated with your pace. My love is not withheld until you achieve some imagined state of invulnerability. I see every layer of armor and understand why each was put in place. You have not failed me by being careful. You have not forfeited my love by needing time, by counting the cost. It is precisely in this place, between desire and dread, that I do my holiest work, melting defenses not by force but by the steady warmth of my acceptance. So, when your heart tries to tell you that you are too much, too slow, or that you've somehow disappointed me by still being wary, remember, I am not the voice of rush or condemnation. I am the stillness that lets you breathe for the first time in days. I am the presence that honors every hesitation, every calculated risk you take toward hope. I meet you not just in your easy trust, but in every trembling, faltering attempt you make to open your heart again, even if it's just a fraction of an inch. Let these words begin to rewrite what you believe about your caution and your need for protection. You have come this far for good reason, but now, as you pause, let yourself consider, what if you could lower your guard, even slightly, in the presence of love that cannot wound nor abandon? Will you dare to imagine, even for a moment, that every defense you have crafted is not a source of shame, but a signpost of your relentless will to survive? And what if the survival, my child, is not the end of your story, but the starting point for a new kind of courage, the courage that welcomes gentleness where once only fear stood guard? If these words stir something in you, an old anxiety, a faint glimmer of hope, let yourself rest in the knowledge that you are not called to walk forward alone, and that I am patient with every pace you choose. I have watched you navigate your private landscapes, always alert for the next hint of disappointment, the next movement that signals risk or threat. You have spent years learning to read the smallest changes in voice, in eyes, in atmosphere, as if your safety depended on this sacred vigilance. Sometimes you do not even notice you are gathering evidence, weighing each possibility against the memory of past harm. Other times it is all you can feel, the weight of alertness pressing against your chest. Like a shield you are forbidden to set down, even when you are weary beyond words. You wonder if anyone really sees the costly labor of such watchfulness. Your armor is invisible to most, so they mistake you for distant, aloof, or uninterested. Yet I see every moment you long to unburden yourself, to let your defenses rest for even a few breaths, to feel safe enough for your soul to unfurl in the light of acceptance. There are moments, soft, almost imperceptible, when you let your mind imagine what living without such relentless alertness might feel like. Would you be truly known, or only more vulnerable to disappointment? Would your hope survive exposure, or would it wither in the glare of reality? You do not ask these questions aloud, but they echo through your days like a background hum, never fully silenced. You have grown so accustomed to measuring your worth by your ability to anticipate pain that any other metric now feels foreign, almost irresponsible. The world taught you that naivety is dangerous, that trust is naive, and that maintaining self-control is the only way to avoid becoming collateral in someone else's chaos. My child, you were never created to shoulder this alone. When I look at the layered structures you have built, yes, even the ones you now regret, I see the hands of a child trying to build a shelter in the rain. Every plank, every stone, every desperate addition was an act of creativity and self-respect in a world that often mishandled your heart. You did not choose your wounds, nor did you intend for your shields to become walls. Even so, you have carried on, fashioning meaning and dignity from places overlooked by others. I honor your resilience. I do not mock the wisdom you have used to survive. In the loneliness of misunderstood motives, I embrace the one who did not know any other way. There is a reason, beloved, why your soul aches in the quiet. It has known too much silence that spoke of abandonment, not peace. I have been present in those silent hours, listening to the questions you are afraid to name. Questions about my faithfulness, about whether your pain matters to me, about whether all this labor to avoid being hurt again will ever let you feel loved for who you are, not simply who you pretend to be. These are not empty cries to me. I take them into myself. Your silence is never wasted. It is an invitation to intimacy that no bravado or display of strength could achieve. Others may urge you with hollow words to just trust or just open up again, not realizing that what they dismiss as hesitation is really a survival skill honed over countless storms. I see beyond the judgments, the impatience, and the shallow reassurances. I see the complexity. I know how hard it is for you to even consider the possibility of relinquishing control, of letting vulnerability have a seat at the table. The world says you are paranoid or cynical, but I see childlike daring still alive in the questions you ask me at night. Your longing for kindness to be real, for hope to remain fierce even after disappointment has visited you so many times. Let me comfort you in the reality that you are not behind, broken, or disqualified for holding your heart so carefully. There are no spiritual rankings here. Your journey is not weighed against someone else's speed or apparent ease. I am as patient with you as I am with the morning sun rising, assured, gentle, unhurried. I do not need your transformation to be instant, nor do I despise your call to caution, but I invite you now, even in uncertainty, to listen. For my voice beneath the layers of self-preservation, I am the whisper that affirms you are more than your defenses, more than your fears, more than even your most persistent doubts. Take even just a breath in this moment. Let down the mask, if only before me. You are not required to forfeit your wisdom or ignore your history to approach me. I welcome you with every wariness and every longing. Let my presence begin softening the fortress not by force, but by the persistent assurance that you are valued, chosen, and intricately known, by the one who delights in your truths, even the ones still braced for harm. Let yourself wonder just for now, whether you can lay down the armor, bit by bit, and find rest not in perfect safety, but in perfect love. There is a different kind of knowing that I want you to experience, a knowledge that rests not on calculation, but on communion. For so long you have survived by interpreting the world through sharpened senses, decoding intentions, bracing yourself for what may come next. That vigilance has become your lens, and you have believed deep within your marrow that anything less would leave you exposed to the injuries you have labored so hard to avoid. But my dear child, consider for a moment. The alertness that once saved you does not have to be the compass that guides every movement now. There is another way, a deeper thread of trust I am weaving into your life that is rooted in my own faithfulness, not in the uncertainties swirling around you. In the secret places where you have grown accustomed to solitude, those shadowed corridors within your spirit where you wait for the next sign of danger, I am already present, steady and unwavering. You search the faces of those around you for signs of acceptance, of threat, of disappointment concealed beneath a polite smile. But I look directly into the places you have locked and hidden, not to exploit your vulnerability, but to honor it. You learned to be a watcher, to hold your heart at a distance, because the world taught you that love could change its mind when you least expected it. How could you not become careful, measuring each gesture and word for sincerity or reluctant obligation? Yet all the while, my knowing of you remained unconditional, unthreatened by your hesitations. I have never misunderstood the reasons you flinch, or read caution in your voice and called it rebellion. What others interpret as coldness, I recognize as the wise labor of one who has tasted both delight and abandonment, and who has chosen again and again to seek meaning in cautious hope, not surrender to numbness. When you stand at the edge of risk, evaluating every outcome before you allow your voice or needs to be known, I see through the layers into your longing to believe that you could be cherished without condition. You have not failed because you withdrew. You have not fallen behind because you hesitated. Your heart is not defective because it needs reassurance before it comes forward, trembling into the light. You carry your care as quietly as a candle in the night, shielding it from every wind that might extinguish its glow. I honor how fiercely you have protected this small hope. But, beloved, there is a sacred exchange I long for you to discover, an exchange between endless self-management and the freedom that comes when you realize your safety is born not from your vigilance, but from my presence. The anxious scan for warning signs will never reveal your true home. Only an experience of my unwavering shelter can teach your nervous system what belonging truly feels like. This is not an abandonment of wisdom. You do not need to abandon discernment to rest in love. Rather, it is the invitation to let my curiosity and kindness replace the cold calculation of suspicion, at least for a moment. In places where even your inner voice turns skeptical, wondering if there is anything truly reliable or steadfast left in this drifting world, I anchor you to a different reality. My regard for you does not flicker with your moods, nor dim with your falterings. I am not like those who failed to see the cost of your caution. I do not treat your soul as a problem to be solved, but as a wonder to be known. Even if you struggle with every step, blaming yourself for not being braver or more open, I hold you with affection, not impatience. I see every trembling inch toward trust as an act of great courage. Let this hope settle deeper within. My gaze does not flinch at your hesitations. My arms do not grow weary of gathering you in, no matter how slowly you come. I know the cost it requires of you each time you consider letting another see behind your carefully drawn lines. What you call reluctance, I call the slow flowering of hope, the hint of spring stirring beneath cold, frozen ground. I do not rush the seasons of your heart. I celebrate each time you open, even a crack of your soul, offering me the smallest invitation to draw close. Let my nearness be your resting place, even as you feel the urge to scan the horizon. With every anxious surge, every familiar pang of self-protection, you can bring it all to me. You do not need to drop your shield in a dramatic flourish. Even the smallest willingness to let me hold your apprehension is a beginning. I am endlessly patient. Where the world urges you to hurry, I move at the speed of trust, at the pace of love. My child, let the pressure to perform or transform fall away, if only for this moment. Here, you have nothing to prove, nothing to lose, nothing to guard against. Only the gentle presence of the one who knows how to comfort, rebuild, and restore. Would you let yourself imagine now the possibility of being held instead of holding yourself together? Allow this thought to settle, not as a rebuke of your resilience, but as a quiet invitation. What if the next breath did not need to be measured, but simply received as a gift of grace? What if the next step were not another calculation, but a movement toward being known in the light of a love that will not withdraw? Let this reassurance surround you. In the absence of perfect safety, there is perfect acceptance waiting here. You are invited to let down what you have borne for so long, even if only gradually. When you're ready, let the weight shift from your heart into my hands. There are moments, subtle and almost imperceptible, when you wonder whether this invitation to trust is too beautiful to be real, whether acceptance resting beyond the vigilant watch is something that could truly last, or if it's just another hope destined to fracture eventually. You have been disappointed before, your heart making cautious agreements with possibilities that vanished or turned in their shape. In the quiet spaces of longing, you sometimes rehearse old arguments against believing that what is given freely must come with an unseen condition, that safety is an illusion spun to soften the world's edge, that once you finally unfold, the waiting silence will expose your vulnerability rather than heal it. These are not failures or flaws in you, beloved. They are echoes of a world that has not always honored your tenderness. I remember each of these moments alongside you, not as an uninvolved observer, but as the one who felt every tremor of hope and doubt ripple through your being. The world taught you to look for the loophole in every promise, to weigh comfort against cost, to steel your hopes against disappointment's shadow. Yet in you, I have planted a different kind of longing, not merely for relief, but for restoration so deep that even your suspicion can rest. The ache is not proof of being broken. It is evidence that your spirit still believes there ought to be a place where love is not withdrawn in the face of need. Even now, I see how you scan your story for proof that trust can be safe, compiling lists of half-healed breaches and near misses, evidence that the warmth you seek inevitably cools. You ask, sometimes quietly and sometimes in anger, can this assurance of yours outlast my doubt? Can love endure when I do not yet know how to receive it at all? I do not recoil from your hesitance. I honor it as a sign that your hope, battered though it may be, has not been extinguished altogether. In every question, I hear not cynicism, but the deeper yearning to finally relax into something that will not collapse under your weight. My dear child, you do not need to keep negotiating the terms of your acceptance with me. I'm not here to measure you as the world has. What you offer as proof, your loyalty, your self-sacrifice, your carefulness, is seen, but accepted without requirement. I do not ask you to pretend you are already convinced or to force yourself past the door of resistance. You are already in the place of welcome. Even your doubts belong. There is no threshold you must cross with certainty. My nearness is not earned by bravado, but encountered as you are, in your hesitation, your longing, your raw hope that refuses to disappear. In the hidden architecture of your heart, there are still unfinished rooms, places where you fear that disappointment prowls just outside, waiting for your guard to drop. I am with you even there, not to demand that you rush to trust, but to quietly remind you that the foundation is already secure. Every fear you carry, of being forgotten, of being too much or too little, of needing comfort and finding none, is not a cliff to avoid or a weakness to outgrow. It's a place where my presence intensifies, where compassion wraps itself around your rawness and stays. Your wounds, for all their ache, do not repel me. They draw me closer. Each glance backward at what has gone wrong, every inward flinch from the possibility of disappointment, is met with my undiminished compassion. I do not keep a tally of your reluctance. I do not sigh at your slow arrival. I'm endlessly attentive, patient in ways that you are only just beginning to discover. My delight in you is not attached to how quickly you learn to trust, but to the very process of walking with you as you let yourself be known. I honor every small surrender, every quiet willingness to try again, as the miracle it is. You do not have to manufacture a sense of belonging before you let your heart approach. The ache that rises in the quiet is not a liability, but an opening, a place I cherish, an invitation I answer without delay. Those trembling questions that haunt you at night, whether presence will last, whether the soft voice of reassurance will eventually go silent, are precisely where my commitment speaks the loudest. I remain as constant as breath, as steady as the law of sunrise, regardless of how much you believe it in any given moment. So bring me your suspicion, your ache, your secret fear that acceptance is just a trick of the light, You do not have to surrender them all at once. Even your tentative steps toward me are precious. There is no risk of rejection in the space. There is only the ongoing welcome that does not fade. If you cannot yet rest, let me be the steadying force beneath your striving, the gentle reminder that perfect trust is not a prerequisite for belonging. I will be here, holding the space for your hope to expand at its own pace. Let your breath, for this moment, become less about control and more about release. Let yourself consider what it means to be held by a love that can endure your doubt as easily as it cherishes your faith. There is no demand here, only the invitation to stay, just as you are, and let me remain near. When the urge rises to turn away or recoil from the possibility of disappointment, bring even that to me. Let your struggle become the very place of meeting, and trust that I will not withdraw. You move through your days carrying the weight of so many silent negotiations. Small bargains you make with your own heart, hoping to stay protected, hoping to be spared the sting of another unmet longing. There are times when you catch yourself rehearsing contingencies you shouldn't need, crafting exit routes for affection, planning for letdowns in places meant for hope. I have witnessed the way you try to lessen disappointment by anticipating it, as though by expecting less you can soften the blow should it come. But even this careful preparation is evidence of how deeply you care, how much you long to trust that something good will truly last. You have learned to become your own guardian, beloved, weaving invisible boundaries between your soul and the world. You brace yourself against the risk that what is gentle might change, that what promises comfort could be withdrawn without warning. Your experience has taught you to look for warning signs, to sound alarms at the first tremor of loss, even if that loss is only imagined. Yet underneath all your vigilance, there's a desire that refuses to be snuffed out. A yearning not merely for safety, but for a place where you can finally lay down your arms and be cherished without caution. I see you in these moments, my child, not simply for the precautions you carry, but for the courage beneath them, the quiet bravery it takes to keep hoping, to keep reaching, even if only with the fingertips of your heart. Your longing is not a failing. It is a sign of life, a holy stubbornness that believes there must be more than disappointment, more than empty reassurances. When you whisper your secret wish to be fully welcomed, to belong without the risk of losing it, I am listening. In those whispers you draw near to my heart. There is a deeper foundation beneath your doubt, stronger than the shifting ground of your experiences. While the world operates in transactions, giving only what can be returned, measuring every claim of care against worth, I offer something altogether different. My acceptance is not a negotiation, not a fragile agreement poised to shatter if things become too difficult. I have constructed another way, one where you are not required to prove your value, where your wounds do not count against you, where your hesitance is not a disqualification, but a doorway. I do not require you to be certain to be received. I do not ask you to forfeit your questions in exchange for my presence. When you review the patterns of your life and wonder if belonging is something that must always be earned, I invite you to look deeper, past the bruises and the bracing, into the steady place where my love rests. Your preparation for disappointment cannot keep you fully safe, but it can sometimes let you rest in the illusion of control. What I am offering, my dear, is the very thing you have not dared to hope for: the liberty to let go of constant vigilance, to lay your suspicion before me, and be met not with disappointment, but with welcome. Every place within you that expects to be left waiting or let go of is precious to me. I want to be with you exactly there, not hurried, not forcing an arrival, but showing you with each moment that my commitment to you is not conditional. Even in your smallest, shakiest attempts to trust, there is a music that delights me, because it means you are letting yourself be seen. When you ask, "How long will you stay?" or "Will you turn away when I show my rawest hurt?" my answer is always the same: I remain. You have never been too wary for me, never too slow to trust, never too complicated for my love to hold. I savor your gradual opening, the way you test my promises against the backdrop of your history. This is not ingratitude or stubbornness. This is the normal, hard-earned caution of a soul who has hoped before. I honor you for every fragile step you take, every inch you move closer, even as you keep one foot in the realm of self-preservation. You are not a problem to be fixed, but a heart to be cherished, even with the walls half standing. Let today be a space where you do not have to overcome your suspicion all at once. Let it be enough to notice your longing and let it rise. I am not hurried by your timeline, nor do I despise the slowness of your becoming. Everything in you that still resists is seen and held, not as an obstacle, but as part of our meeting place. I promise to receive even your most uncertain, armored hope as a gift worthy of delight. If you find yourself turning away or holding back, do not shame yourself. Notice that even in your recoil, a part of you still wants to turn again toward love. This is enough for today. Bring me that small willingness, a fragment of hope, a sliver of trust, and let it be the seed for something that can grow in my unhurried presence. Breathe out the tension you hold around your heart, and let me meet you in the process instead of the outcome. This is where my deepest welcome is found, not on the other side of your doubt, but right here in the sacred space where hope and fear are both allowed to stand. Take a breath and allow yourself to imagine my presence as the one safe foundation under your feet, holding steady even as you are learning how to stand. There is a place deep within you that aches to be free from both the fear of abandonment and the expectation of disappointment. A place that longs not only for reassurance, but for an anchor, a certainty that cannot be washed away by circumstance or history. You may find yourself standing in the quieter corridors of your mind, searching for evidence that love could truly stay, listening for the subtle sound of someone else's footsteps turning away before you've even dared to hope they would remain. This vigilance can wear you thin, beloved, yet it is here, beneath the layers of practiced caution, beneath your steadying rituals and careful boundaries, that I remain unblinking, unchanged. There are moments when you glimpse, for the briefest second, the possibility of true belonging, a belonging that does not rest upon your best day or falter on your worst. This is not merely an idea to comfort your longing, but an anchor buried deeper than all your previous loss. It is the proof that when you crumble, when your need spills out and cannot be contained by your own resourcefulness, you are not less worthy in my eyes. In fact, when your defenses are most threadbare, you are seen by me most truly, because you are letting what is hidden be witnessed. You may feel at times that you must shrink your need for fear of overwhelming those around you, that to desire deeply is to risk being deserted. You are no stranger to that uncertainty, the kind that whispers your longings are too much, your sorrow too heavy for anyone, even for me. But my love is not offered on the condition that you are never needy, never hurt, never afraid. In the secret places where you try to hide even from yourself, I have already made my home. I delight in drawing near where you feel most unworthy, because my nearness is not the prize for your composure. It is the promise for your vulnerability. Let yourself rest, my child, from the tireless effort of preempting disappointment. You do not need to suspend your hope in the air, endlessly weighing whether it will fall. My welcome is not something you must ration or predict the withdrawal of. Let it soak quietly into the places that have only known conditional love. Let it seep into the cracks where you braced yourself for leaving, and find there my presence, quietly defying every story your pain tried to settle as truth. I know every part of your construction, every keystone of your cautious hope, every weak joint where you worry if collapse is inevitable. I have called none of this a flaw. The resilience you built from what you have endured is not wasted. Even so, my desire is that you would come to trust a love that does not require your vigilance as the entry price. I am not waiting for you to dismantle yourself for me. I am holding you, even as you stand surrounded by sturdy walls. If it helps, picture my care as an embrace that comes not to tear down your defenses, but to inhabit the empty space within them, filling the hollows you leave for safety with something gentler and much more lasting. I am not threatened by the boundaries you have needed. I am not angered by your caution. Every risk you have ever taken to stay open, even just a crack, is a celebration in my sight. What would it be like to begin, even minute by minute, to believe that disappointment is not your destiny? To welcome the idea, briefly, even hesitantly, that you were meant for belonging, not just survival? My faithfulness is not a variable in the world's equation. It is a certainty. Let my constancy hold you even when your hope flickers, even when suspicion feels safer than surrender. Allow yourself a moment to unclench from the pressure of predicting heartbreak. Bring me the question, will I always be left wanting? And let me meet you not with easy answers, but with companionship, with a refusal to leave, with the steady tenderness of presence that keeps showing up long after others have let go. You do not have to be alone in the waiting room of your longings. I am here, a foundation unmoved, a shelter unshaken. Return, if only in your spirit, to the thought that perhaps you have misunderstood what lasting love can be, that you do not have to pay in advance for the comfort of belonging, nor constantly fear its expiration. Will you just for now risk letting this hope sit beside your worry and see which one grows stronger in my presence? Let your soul breathe, my dear child, and trust that my invitation does not expire when you doubt. You are safe here, wanted here, kept here, not after you have outgrown your suspicion, but exactly as you are now. Let this new possibility echo quietly inside you until you are ready to answer it. You have searched so long for the kind of love that cannot be uprooted, for the gentleness that will not recoil when met with your need. You have gathered careful evidence and counter-arguments, measured every kindness to see if it would last, and yet even now, you sense the ache of something enduring calling you home. The longing that persists in you is not a flaw to be erased. It is the truest part of your spirit, reaching for what was always meant to be yours. I am not offering you words that fade in the heat of uncertainty. I am offering you myself, the one constant where there's no possibility of abandonment, no shadow of turning away. I know the places your memory drags you. I see the silent calculations in your mind that arise before you risk any new trust. You're not strange to me in your guardedness. I have watched you draw your boundaries, not to keep me out, but to hold together what felt most vulnerable. For every door you've closed, I have waited with patience, never in short supply. Here at the end of all your vigilance I am present, not asking for your walls to collapse, but for your heart to recognize that I am already within the quiet spaces you've kept hidden, even from yourself. The presence I bring is an environment, a safety, a home that does not crumble when you grow restless or frightened or weary of waiting. Let your mind relax its grip, just for this moment, on the worry that being too much will always leave you empty. Where others have drawn lines, I have made room. Where you have second-guessed your worth, my assurance has outlasted your questions. I do not keep a ledger of your doubts or withdraw my presence when you stumble. Instead, I draw nearer, quietly persistent, never intrusive, but always invested in the full weight of your story. Your need, your sorrow, your hope, they are not inconveniences to me. In the unraveling, in the moments when you are most sure you failed at holding it all together, you have not diminished in my eyes. You are, and always have been, the one I stay for. When you ache for proof, remember that my holding you is not a temporary gesture, but a foundation built before you knew to desire it. My faithfulness is not dependent on your faith. It is not weakened by your questions or wearied by your delays. The invitation I extend is not revoked when you hesitate or retreat. Even in the depths of your doubt, my commitment runs deeper than your uncertainty. Rest in the knowledge that my love is not a conditional promise, waiting for you to fulfill some part of your end of the bargain. It is a living presence that sees every bruise left by the world and says, "You are still mine," with all the tenderness your soul has yearned for, but rarely dared to claim. You have carried so much, my beloved. Your carefulness, your efforts to manage hope and disappointment have shaped your steps, but never cast you out of my arms. You are not alone, even as you walk corridors lined with old fears. My voice is here, ready to steady you when your memories return like a tide, telling you loss is inevitable. Even then, and especially then, I am what does not leave. Allow yourself to loosen the grasp you have on the past's blueprints, and consider the possibility that your future is already being built around a love that will not evacuate under pressure. Can you perceive even dimly the design I have been forming in your life, one in which your longing for attachment is answered by my unshakable presence? Where others have faltered or faded, I remain, not as a distant ideal, but as a certainty you can lean your whole weight upon. The more you bring to me, the more of you that finds its way home. Your belonging is not a scarce reward, but your divine inheritance. This is the secret that loneliness never tells. You have never truly been without me. My protection is not a fence to keep you isolated, but a covering that welcomes all you are. Even if your heart falters, even if hope stumbles under the weight of history, I am not undone by it. Your limitations are not surprising to me. Your weariness is not a barrier. I am the one committed to seeing you held, safe, and wanted, especially in the aftermath of disappointment, precisely in the spaces where you have run out of proof that staying is possible. Let this constant, gentle love become the context in which you relearn what it means to trust again. Your story has not reached its ending, simply because old pain returns. Every tear, every moment of uncertainty has been noticed and honored. Let that truth settle in your bones. Not one instant of your struggles overlooked, not a single hope is dismissed. Find rest, my dear child, in the assurance that what I offer is bigger than your fears and steadier than your own resolve. My presence is not withdrawn at the first sign of doubt. My love is not thin at the edges or conditional upon your confidence. You are invited, always, to come as you are, unguarded, unfinished, entirely known. You have not outgrown your need for tenderness, nor have you exceeded my ability to provide it. The road ahead may still be marked by setbacks and renewed caution, but you do not walk it alone. Belonging is your birthright. Safety is my promise and presence. Unfailing, unwavering is your reality. As you consider returning to the world with new hope, let the memory of my constancy rest in your spirit. You are never beneath my notice nor beyond my reach. Amen. If this message awakened something within you, do not keep it to yourself. Let it reach another heart waiting for the same reminder.